Good evening, everybody. Broadcasting live from the beautiful studios of WICR Iona College Radio and streaming live on Facebook and, on Instagram and Facebook Live. This is the Showdown, and I am your host, Austin AJ Stellato. Today is Wednesday, February 27th, 2019. Welcome again to the Showdown here, back live on WICR. And if you are watching on YouTube, the title of the clip is Back on the Air, because we have been away for, I believe, 2 weeks. It may be just 1 week. It's been I think about 2 weeks since I've last done a show. So we are back on the air, and a lot has gone on. We missed last week's show due to the snow. Due to the snow from last week, we classes were canceled. It started snowing like in the afternoon last week, and so we canceled. Like the school closed all the buildings Wednesday night, or Wednesday afternoon to Wednesday night. Missed the show last week, but we are back on the air here tonight as the snow. It actually snowed today a little bit. I think around like 1 o'clock. None of it really stuck. Thank goodness for that. But I think you're supposed to get some snow this weekend. And speaking of this weekend, the IBS Awards are Saturday night. WICR is nominated we are finalists in 4 different categories. I don't know the categories off the top of my head, but we are nominated for 4. So that award show is down in Manhattan this Saturday night. So hopefully we come away with some W's, come away with some hardware come this Saturday. So definitely looking forward to that. And this we participated in the club has participated in the IBS Awards before. We did not do it last year, so this is my first year really, with the opportunity for the station to win some awards. So again, we definitely hoping that is the case come Saturday night. I've been busy as of late, did 3 games this weekend, and that's going to lead me into what I want to talk about a little bit here to start the show. And that is MAC basketball. We are a week away. Not a week, almost a week away from the 2019 MAC tournament starting. It'll start next Thursday morning with some of the women's games, and then the men will play following that, and the tournament will be underway. But last Friday night, I was on the call with my main man, Ian Sachs, doing the final home game for the Iona College women's basketball team. They fell in a really tough game to Manhattan, but it was a really fun game to call. It was back and forth. Iona was up a little bit. Manhattan came back. They took the lead, and then down the stretch, Iona was able to come all the way back, had an opportunity to win the game at the buzzer, but it just was not to be. But it was a very exciting game, and it was a fun one to call. The last basketball game for the 2019 school year, not for the calendar year, as we know that because we'll be back on it come November when college basketball season rolls around next season. But calling basketball games. So for those who don't know, I started calling basketball games last year on ESPN3 here at Iona. Only really did the color this year. Mainly did the play-by-play, and out of 15 home games for the Iona women's team, was able to call. I think the final number was about 13. 13 of those 15 home games. I think that's the exact math. And it's a lot of fun. Obviously, it's a big basketball school, and it was really fun to be on the call for a lot of those games. Saw a lot of good basketball, and definitely looking forward to the years to come. And interested to see how they will do next week in the tournament. Additionally, and for those who do follow me on social media, you definitely saw this. If you're following me on Twitter, if you're following me on Instagram, you saw this. So Sunday was the final men's home game of the season. They were playing against Canisius. It was a battle for first place. And so for the men's games, for really any sport that we here at Iona broadcast on ESPN3 or the ESPN platform, as I just hit some buttons there and we went out for a second. So pretty much all of the game, I've pretty much done every sport here that we broadcast through the ESPN platform. But the men's basketball game, they hire out, they bring in the big guns, they bring in the pros. But what they started doing this year is adding a sideline reporter, and I had done it once before, and I did it again. They asked me to do it for Sunday for the final men's home game, and that's just something that has been that was really special for me, because, and if you saw my tweet, you saw this. I grew up watching Iona basketball games here and there, and it goes back to my father, it goes back to his uncle. So my great Uncle Noel, he went to Iona. He was graduated sometime in the 50s, and he was a big sports fan. And then as my dad was growing up, he would take my dad to games, and my dad wound up coming here to Iona, and so they continued to do that, especially during my dad's time here at Iona, because my uncle lived here in New Rochelle, Yonkers area for a while. They went to games at the Garden. They went to they would go down to DC when Iona played Georgetown. I mean, this is almost the height of Iona basketball. Like, you have to remember, for those who don't know, if you ever heard of the Jimmy V Foundation, Jim Valvano, he started he was a coach here at Iona before he left for NC State. So this was Jeff Rulin. He played in the NBA. So there are a lot of pretty rememberable names from sort of that time. And so they would go to games, and that's kind of something that me and my dad did here and there growing up. Obviously, I was an athlete growing up, so didn't always have the time to get to games, but went to more games, I'd say, in high school, or if Iona was ever on like ESPN, on ESPNU or something like that, because they didn't really have the ESPN3, or like 5-6 years ago, I think. He would always be watching. So it's something that I've always kind of known of is Iona basketball, and being able to actually, cover and report on that is something that was just, really special for me. And kind of like a full circle sort of moment that I had. And to put the icing on the cake, really, from this past Sunday, is it was an amazing game. 87-80 was the final. I think there was 97 combined points in the second half. So just so much offense to watch in the second half. And it was a dogfight. It was, I think, the largest, the final score wound up being by 7. I think at one point Iona may have been up 8 or 9 in the second half, but it was within one possession, pretty much 1 or 2 possessions the entire second half. Canisius wound up actually taking a 1 or 2 point lead down the stretch. Iona got it back. So just a phenomenal, really exciting game. And then even more so on top of that, it was, as I mentioned, the final home game. So it was senior day. It was senior day at the Heinz Center, and Ricky McGill, the lone senior on that team, just absolutely went for 30 points. An incredible day for him. And if you've talked to me personally, you know about this, but I was able to watch him play in high school. He's from Rockland County, played at Spring Valley High School. Obviously I'm from Nyack, so I saw him play on those really good Spring Valley teams where Nyack, we struggled at times against them because those were section championship level teams that he was on. And obviously when I knew he was going to Iona, my dad picked up on that because he had been all over the Journal News back home, and he was going to a local school, and my dad's alma mater. And then I got to he was the player of the game, got to interview him, and it was a really fun interview. There's some pictures out there. Tawana Agee, the teammate, a junior, came over, gave Ricky a little bit of a shower, got on me a little bit. So just kind of like, it was very special. It was very cool to be a part of that, and I'm very thankful to all of those who gave me that opportunity. So it was definitely a fun weekend, and in between those two games, got off to women's lacrosse season on Saturday. Iona versus Brown. Brown took that one A very cold day, very cold game to call. Lacrosse can be a little tough at times, obviously, just because it's not really a sport that if you don't really play that sport growing up, it's not a sport that you watch, all too much. But it was it's always good to be on the air, and even if you are a little bit chilly out there. So it was a jam packed weekend for me. Obviously, a lot going on in terms of the world of sports and everything that's going on. Spring training is underway. We absolutely love to see that. Love to see spring break getting underway. Now the talk of the NFL draft is starting to come up. The combine is coming up. So, decent stuff. As we mentioned, conference tournaments right around the corner, including the Max next week. That's going to be a great tournament on both sides, both the men's and women's side. Really, just to quickly on the women's side, obviously you do have Quinnipiac at the top, and then Ryder and Marist right behind them. But the middle of that conference is so evenly matched. It really, it's really anybody's to take it all the way. I think to make it to the championship game, and then on the men's side, 1 through I think 6 or 7 right now are all separated by a game or a game and a half. I mean, it's so tight at the top of the conference. The seeds won't come out until next week. But it's an exciting time for college basketball with the tournament and March just a couple of weeks away. So we'll step aside here on the Showdown. More when we come back. So keep it here. Back after this.